Okay, we're good.
You can call it to order.
Are you ready? Meeting
Ready.
is called to order. Let's start over with a roll call.
Dick Poofall,
Here.
Mike Berlin, Clarence Campbell,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek.
Here.
Okay, please make sure everyone uses their microphone.
I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I shall make that motion.
Motion by Bill Metzinger,
This is Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
seconded by Marty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public comments. Okay, Matt.
Morning,
Erickson.
this is Matt Erickson, Ashland County Highway Commissioner. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on item 13 for the term of Highway Commissioner. I have another meeting with the DOT this morning, so I will not be able to stay for the full discussion on the topic. I think there's a misconception that by changing the term of Highway Commissioner, that this person has a guaranteed job for the term. This is not the case. The Highway Commissioner is supervised by the County Administrator. If the Highway Commissioner is not doing the job correctly, the Administrator can terminate the employment at any time. If the Highway Committee or the County Board feel like the Highway Commissioner is not doing their job, they can direct the Administrator to terminate the employment. Also, I do not believe that most of the other department heads in the county have terms to their position. As you all know, Ashland County does not have the financial capability to pay wages comparable with other counties. Under this condition, the county needs to find alternative ways to motivate and retain quality employees. By extending the term of the Highway Commissioner, the county is sending a message that they value employees and would like to retain them. By extending the term, this also benefits the county in another way. The county is required by statute to have a Highway Commissioner to receive state transportation funding. If down the road someone forgets about renewing the term, the county could lose all transportation funding. Also, there is time and effort savings for the county. Every 2 years, this issue has to go through 2 committees and full county board. This takes a lot of time and resources. I'm asking you to consider changing the term of the Highway Commissioner to 10 years or longer to create stability to the position. This change was endorsed by the Highway Committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Anybody else?
No, Brian has an agenda item.
Huh?
Brian has an agenda item.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's later. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, closing public comments, approval of the executive meeting minutes from March 16th. Motion by Bill. We have a
Yes.
second? Seconded by Marty Vitek. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and action broadband forward ordinance. Dan, you're on the floor.
Yeah, okay, so both these ordinances enable the county to receive more broadband funding from the state and the feds. It shows what you're doing is you're committing to giving broadband providers the cheapest rates available, making sure the permits are granted in a timely fashion, assuming there's no other issues with the permits. Just agreeing to speed up the pace of permitting. It does make us eligible for more broadband investment in the state, from the state and the feds and the county. Yep, and I guess I'm seeking approval of both the 2 items here. They're both, one's for broadband and one is for telecommuters.
Question. I'd like to ask a question. Is there any advantage or disadvantage in not doing this?
The biggest advantage is it shows the state that you're willing to move as fast as possible for permitting. So these grants run on really quick cycles now. Like if the grant is due March 31st, They don't really announce it till March 1st. So what happens is the communities that are the most friendly to infrastructure improvement are the ones who usually get the grants. So while the state could give us a grant anyhow, it makes it more likely that we get one when we pass this resolution.
I'll make the motion to move forward with the ordinance, broadband ordinance.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike Berlin, second by Clarence Campbell. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to number 7, approval of attendance at WCA convention.
If anyone's talking, we can't hear anything.
I'll make the motion that we approve the telecommunity forward resolution, item 6.
This is Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the telecommuter forward resolution. Bill?
Does this get forward to the county? Does this get forward to the county board?
Yes, it does.
Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and now we'll go to 7. Discussion and action on approval of attendance at WCA convention in September.
I guess I'm looking to see how many supervisors you want to approve being able to attend. I know Mr. Pufall is going.
Yeah, you give me that evil eye, I have to go.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 more that want to go. Also, I would recommend some of the newer members consider it. They can learn a lot at these things. And I just want to make sure there's approval out there. So if they decide they want to go, and we don't have to wait for another exec meeting.
What's the cost of going roughly?
It's around $450 a person.
Are you looking for a number of people to go or?
I'm looking for whatever the committee decides, whether or not they just want to open up to any county board member, or they just want to limit it to X number, first come, first serve.
How many normally go? How many normally go to this?
Usually around 3 or 4 supervisors plus me. I would say that our county clerk should go this year with all the election law changes going on and all the election. Well, you can all read the news. I think it's important that our clerk go and be able to talk with all the other county clerks and get the training that every other county clerk is going to receive. Make sure we don't have election problems here in November.
Yeah. How about the maximum is 6?
6 supervisors or 6 people?
6 people.
6
Okay.
county board supervisors?
Well, including the clerk, 6 bodies.
6 bodies. So if Dick and I and Heather go, 3 more supervisors.
Up to, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, up to, I would say. I would say, yeah, up to 3 more in addition to Dick, Dan, and Heather.
Just for the record, last year, Dan and I and Kathy were the only ones that went, right?
Laura Negro too.
Laura Negro, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. So there was 4.
Okay, I'll make that a motion.
I'm sorry, please state your name.
Okay, it's Marty Vitek. I'll make that a motion that there be 6 people authorized to attend the convention, including 3 supervisors in addition to the clerk, the administrator, and the chairman.
Do we have a second? Bill,
I will second that motion.
seconded by Bill Metzinger. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 8, resolution to amend resolution RO3 2022 1411 authorizing county treasurer to access bank account information for any bank account using a county taxpayer ID.
Okay, the county board had already passed this resolution back in March, I believe. However, one of the financial institutions had a slight problem with some of the language. So we're repassing it with a change so that financial institution is satisfied. So it's just, it's a minor change. It says, what it does is the first resolution required the board chair to be a signer. This one says the board chair can be a signer. And all additional signers still have to go through this committee first. So it's just a minor change to make the bank happy.
Will this have to go to the county board again?
Yes, this will go to the county board also.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion for adoption.
Motion by Bill
Microphones, please.
Metzinger,
This is Bill. I'll make a motion for adoption.
Do we have a second?
This is Mike. I'll second that.
Motion by Bill Metzinger, seconded by Marty, or by Mike Berlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 9, to approve contract extension for fiscal consultants.
Yes, so their last contract ended by date. There's still hours unused, but the date ended. This one's extending it into the September. This will probably be the very last one we do. There are additional hours in this. They've done a bunch of things already. They saved us more money than we paid them. Namely, the biggest one that comes to mind is restating our highway expenditures so we can get greater GTA going forward. And GTA is a function of the last 6 years of transportation spending. So we were under-reporting our transportation spending. We'll be getting probably 30 to 40,000 more a year now just with that change, which of course more than pays for them. They're also changing our chart of accounts so we can actually get reports to you. Right now, the way the chart of accounts was set up, you can't break it out by department. So they're in the process of doing that, and that will enable us to bring your report every single meeting and get finance whatever reports they want. And each individual department will be able to bring it to their oversight committee. So on highway, you guys would get the financial report for the highway, and it can be emailed to you, or it can be presented at the meeting, or whatever, however you want it. You can get, so anyhow, we expect this to be the very last one going forward.
Would that be for all departments, like say forestry?
Yep, every department will be covered.
This is Bill. How much is that costing us?
Up to 12,000.
And when does it run from September to?
It runs from now until the end of September. And we'd probably be using ARPA money for this. So it's not coming out of our budget. fact, we probably just, I think we recently got or we're going to get the next piece.
This is Marty Vitek. I'll make the motion that we extend the contract as it says in the.
Oh, this is Clarence. I'll second. You're hogging the mic.
Microphones, please.
Who made the motion?
Marty Vitek.
Marty Vitek made the motion and Clarence Campbell made seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, approve policy change for sale of surplus county property.
In the cleaning up of this building and moving stuff out of the attic and the like, we're coming across materials that the county just doesn't need. Either it's duplicates or we have no use, ancient technologies, things we just have no use for. We try auctioning them off on Wisconsin Surplus. If that doesn't work, we go to Facebook. But if that doesn't work, we need to have the option of being able to just donate it to a local charity or what have you, or sell it to somebody who's willing to offer us $2 for something that we throw away. We should take the $2. So this just gives us the option to just have whatever opportunity we can to dispose of unwanted property.
Who's going to be in charge of that?
Mostly Sarah's doing that.
Who?
Sarah, our maintenance person.
Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve this.
Motion by Clarence,
This is Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
seconded by Marty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Employee handbook, benefits available at hiring.
Okay, this is an issue that's affected us recently. Several department heads have made hires recently and made job offers that are outside the handbook. So in other words, they're offering vacation right away, as opposed to the handbook says you don't get it for a year. And I don't find out about it until I see the job offer come through on my email. So I would like direction from this committee whether or not, given the market for employees, just to hire employees, whether or not we want to continue to let department heads do that, or whether or not we want to stick to the handbook. My opinion is it is a tough market to hire qualified people, and I understand why they want to do it. And I would have no problems with giving people vacation up front. However, I think it should be either accrued. So you accrue from day one. And so after 3 months, you get a vacation day. Because that's how much time approximately. Or two, that if they're given the vacation up front, that if they leave within the first year, they have to pay back whatever the prorated basis is. So we're not having people who take the job for 6 months and then expect a week's payout when they should only get 2.5 days.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'd like to see where this committee falls on that. I mean, otherwise my default position is they can't do any of it because that's not what the handbook says. So.
Bill?
Who's going to be in charge of doing this countywide, or is it just going to be each department?
Well, if we change the policy, it'd be countywide. So,
Okay, but who's going to be in charge of doing it so that each department doesn't do something different?
well, that's supposed to be me, and I don't find out until it's too late, which is why I'm coming here for a rule that they have to follow. So, do we want to allow it? I mean, like I said, I think given the market for finding good talent, we should be able to offer a week's vacation in the first year. But again, I think they should have to accrue it or pay it back if they leave early. I mean, I don't think we should be doing excess payouts. you know. So and I understand that people need time and, you know, a year is a long time to wait, I guess.
I have this is Mike here. The question I have, is this going to go to the county board for approval or is it just us?
Technically, this committee can make the decision. However, you certainly do have the power to refer it to the county board for.
I think I would certainly like to have the county board have this knowledge in their back pocket so that they know where we're going with this. Well, with that being said, I would make this motion.
Motion made by Mike Berlin,
Can you repeat
what
the
ex-
motion, please?
Yes,
I would make the motion to approve the update to the employee handbook to reflect this approved leave.
is this on a prorated basis or?
Yeah, Mr. Berlin, I guess I wasn't sure. I want to be sure for the record, I guess. Are you making the motion to say they could get vacation the first year on an accrued basis or have to pay back or be given a week ahead of time and pay back if they leave early?
I would make the motion, it would be an accrued basis.
Okay.
Does your motion include having to be passed by the county board? Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like this to go in front of the county board so they have this knowledge as well. So it would be subject to full county board approval.
Okay, does that include to pay back then if they leave before?
Yes. That's kind of a difficult motion, isn't it? I think we're doing too many things with one motion. But first of all, the motion should be that this approval be made by the county board. And secondly, well, we should do one motion at a time, right?
pardon?
Well, first of all, the first motion is that this decision should be taken to the county board for their approval.
Okay, so Lori, this is gonna be a multi-part, multi-vote item. So to keep it easier for everyone, can we make one motion and then vote on it, and then make another motion and vote on it? That way, everything stays straight and everybody's, okay. So Lori, can you, so Mr. Pufall, I guess we need, the first motion is to send this item to the county board for full approval. And I guess you need a second.
Bill?
This is Bill. I would second that motion that this has to be passed by the county board.
I just have one question. Are we making this optional that the departments can offer this? Or does every hire have to be given this? I guess that's what,
That's gonna be the second part. That'll be the second motion. Right now, this motion is going to take it to the county board.
okay.
And then,
Maybe we should have made the first motion first and then the
Yeah.
second one to go to the county board second. Okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're putting the cart before the horse.
okay.
Okay, you guys are really confusing me.
Try making.
So are we.
Okay, Lori, what they're
So
going, Lori, the motion that was just made is going to be redone as a second motion. So they're going to go for the first one first now. So just, we're at the beginning again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here we go again. First motion is going to be to approve this, no, what am I trying to say here? The accrued leave to be taken, vacation leave to be taken. And offered to new hirees.
At the option of the department.
That will be subject to all departments.
But each department head, when they're hiring, has the option of offering it or not. Okay, all right, yeah, okay.
So how is this written here in this
What you see is the current manual.
current, okay.
Right. So if I could rephrase the motion, maybe it's a little. The motion is to allow department heads to offer new employees up to 1 week of vacation upon hire at an accrual basis. And so the only eligible payout they would receive if they leave early is what they accrued.
Is this going to be for all employees?
It would be for all new hires in all departments.
All new hires and all departments.
Right.
This is Marty Vitek. I'm wondering if this is going to make a record keeping nightmare of some sort.
No, it won't. And actually our new employee self-service system, which will be debuting in August, September, is going to make it even easier because it's when the new person's hired, they just put that into the software and the software will keep track of how much time they have. So they will see every pay period, how many hours they have. So after a month, they have 3 hours of vacation. They can use it if they need to.
I will second that motion. This is Bill. I will second that motion as Mike stated and Dan corrected, fixed.
Everybody else want to get in on the computer? Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to tell you what we're voting on, but it's getting confusing. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, the next item.
I will, this is Mike again. I will make this motion to see that this new policy is taken to the county board for final approval.
Motion made by Mike Berlin,
I'll second. This is Clarence.
seconded by Clarence Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That was painless. Item number 13, ordinance changing the term of the highway commissioner.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Adding a community member to the Ag and Extension Committee.
So at the last Ag and Extension Committee meeting, last county board, the committee requested that a citizen member be added to the committee roster. The intent was to appoint Mr. Ortman to the committee. As of right now, the committee can only have county board members. So I told him we'd bring it up here for a consideration. And then this too would have to go to the county board if approved.
Don't they have a community member now?
Not an Ag and Extension.
Well, Ag and Extension. okay,
Yeah.
Yes. okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the intent is to have Mr. Ortman appointed.
I make a motion. This is Bill for adoption of this.
This is Marty Vitek. I'll second it.
Microphones, please.
Not on. You know, it's hell when you're old and Polish at the same time. Okay, a motion by Bill, seconded by Marty Vitek to approve adding a community member to the Ag and Extension Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go to number 13. Ordinance changing the term of the highway commissioner.
So the resolution's already written. It's in your packet. All you have to do is decide on the year date, number of years, or not approve the ordinance outright. Your
It's not a
cho-
what?
Yeah, your choices are to either not approve the ordinance outright or to change the years in the ordinance because the county board rejected 10 years. So,
Yeah, before anybody makes a motion, I'd like to speak to that just briefly. Matt just spoke earlier about how that is an incentive for employees to stay longer. I don't have a problem with extending it from 2 years to maybe 4 years or 5 years or whatever. The sheriff gets 4 years, the county clerk gets 4 years, the district attorney gets 4 years. So I don't know why we have to go to 10 on top of that. There's no guarantee to the county that if we approve this, he's going to stay for 10 years. He can leave anytime he wants. So if you want to extend it, I don't have a problem with that. I understand what he's going through every 2 years. I don't believe that we should do a 10-year thing. In the case of Emmer Shields, he was here, I think, for 3 terms before his term was extended to be lifetime or whatever it was. Matt, been here 2 years now? Been here 2 years now. I think it's a little bit premature to make that kind of commitment, but I don't have a problem if you want to extend it a little bit. Okay, now let's hear from the panel.
This is Mike here, and well, I spoke on this previous too, and I'm also on the roads committee, so I'm open. The 4 years would be, I would have no problem with that. The 10 years, that's kind of far reaching, but as stated before too, if he wants to leave, he can leave. And of course, if he really screws up, we can terminate him. So, it's just a formality that I see here that there's a job, what do you call it, offer there from us, the county, to him, the being a county commissioner, that we'll have him on the books for whether it be 4 years or 10 years. So either way, if you wanted to move on to something else, or if we decided to terminate him, this is just, I look at it as an agreement. If it's something other than that, please explain it to me. Thank you.
This is Bill. I guess I'm in favor of extending it to 10 years just to give him more security. But I could live with like a 4-year term. But I guess we need to settle when it's going to start, what his term is actually, when is the 4-year run? And I would think if we added something about putting it into like when the sheriff's term runs, that's the same type of term that we would use for 4 years. I know I was 100% in favor of 10 years, but I could live with 4 years if everybody else can do that. But I think we should put when the 4 years starts so that it's, if we go to 4 years, that we make it so that it's the same time as the sheriff's election, because it's every 4 years.
I don't know why we're tying this to the sheriff or any other elected position. I mean, those are elected. They run for those positions. So I don't know why we have to tie it to any other position, You say, well, the sheriff has a 4-year term, but he has to run for election.
Commissioner does too.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. He has to get approval of the county board.
But he's not being elected by the public.
Correct.
That's where the difference is. I mean, the sheriff is elected by the public, the county clerk is elected by the public, and those are terms set by state law. So I don't know why we're tying it to those positions. I mean, we're hiring a highway commissioner just like we hire any other employee. When did he start? What time of the year?
He was just reappointed starting January 1st of this year.
Okay, so let's do it on that term basis, when he was hired, when he, and reappointed.
So are you in favor of changing the length or not?
Oh, yeah, I'm in favor of changing the length. I'm just saying, we
Run
don't
it from
need to tie
January
it to any
1st?
other position.
Okay, how much, this is Bill, how much would you like to change it to, if any change?
Well, I would, go along with 4 or 6 years, maybe. It was obvious that the county board was not in favor of a 10-year term, even though I don't see any problem with that either, because both sides have an opportunity to get out of the agreement if, he can leave if he takes another position, and we can terminate him if, like Mike says, if he messes up something. And
Go ahead, Marty.
This is Marty Vitek. It seems to me that Matt asked for 10 years. The default by the statute is 2 years. And I would suggest we split the difference, make it 6. And I'd make a motion to that effect.
I'll second that.
Can I ask you what date it starts
January 1st.
of 2022 or 23?
Well, 23, I can't make the
Well,
calendar go.
Right.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So starting January 23.
Bill,
I would second that motion. Oh, pardon me, sorry.
all right, we have a motion and a second on the table to extend Matt's term to 6 years. Any more discussion? Pardon? What?
Beginning January 1st, 2023.
Oh, okay, so he's getting 6.5 years then.
Well, he's on a current term right now.
Yeah, he was just reappointed.
Right. So the new term would start on January 1st, 2023.
Okay, any more discussion? Are we ready to vote? Any more discussion or not? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of extending the term to 6 years? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, number 14, request by the Sheriff's Department to allow 911 Communications Director eligible for overtime. We have the sheriff here. Go ahead.
Brian Zupke. What would happen was the 911 director position was posted in-house. None of the current dispatchers chose to sign up for it. After further questioning, they says their main concern was it's salary, there's no overtime offered. And they would take a decrease in pay going to the director position. So my proposal was to see if we can get taken off salary for the director. I'm guesstimating around $5,000 to $7,000 overtime. If we're fully staffed, we would hope to keep it lower. That director position usually is there during the daytime, fills in. If nobody's takes off or vacation or comp time during the daytime, or maybe a weekend spot if it can't be filled. Right now, we're not fully staffed. We've been having a difficult time filling part-time spots. So the director during the position being off salary would help out fill in the vacation times, which is pretty high right now. And in that position has been vacant since was it May 2nd, Dan?
And this is Sheriff Brennan. I can also add that our acting supervisor has had to work because of our short staff, I believe for 7 days in a row, to cover shifts for the 911 Communications Center. We are currently interviewing and people for this position, but like Brian stated, it's difficult to find candidates that are willing to come in and work on it. But without having this position as a non-salary position, we had nobody sign up for this. Nobody's interested in it. I think it's important that we have that position as a supervisory position to be able to take accountability of it and to make sure that all shifts are covered and the training is being conducted and all the other e-time and warrant entries are being done in a timely fashion, being supervised by one person. Thank you.
I got two questions. When would this take effect? And if it's passed by this committee, does it go to the full county board?
This would take effect immediately, or you can make your motion to refer it to the county board. This committee has the authority to make the change themselves. But you also have the authority to send it to the county board for full board approval, if you like. So it can take effect whenever you want and go to the board if you want. I do want to say this is going to increase overtime. There's no doubt about that. To the extent of how much, it's hard to say because we don't know when people are taking vacations, when people quit, or how soon they're able to hire other people. So, I'm sure that Sheriff Brennan and Deputy Chief Zupi can find room in their budget should there be an overrun in costs. Well, but we should know that this is going to increase over time.
Do we have a motion?
But before you guys make a motion on this, I just add, I agree with what Mr. Grady's saying about overtime. But if we had full staffing and we had this position as a director like we had when Dave McGuire had it, Dave would always fill in for shifts when there were vacant shifts for people who are on vacation. At this point, right now, we're down 2 dispatchers, so everybody's getting overtime at this point. By having this director's position and we get full staff, it should be eliminate overtime theoretically.
What's the current salary for this position?
Is 24.21, I believe, or 24.31, something like that. So overtime would be around $36.
I don't have the exact number in front of me, so
What does the committee, would they rather have it go to the county board? If I'm in favor of this motion, but the question is, does this committee want to decide it, or does it want to go to the full county board so that they're aware of what's going on and give them the power, or do we just want to make the decision? I'm in favor of granting this, but I'm just saying that's the part I hate to say that we're overstepping our boundaries and not keeping the county board current to what we're doing. If we make the recommendation in favor of it, to take it to the county board.
Marty?
Well, we are the personnel committee and there's no secret what we're doing. Right. So and the county board will be informed of it, so.
Yeah, I can.
This is Sue.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sue.
So did you say that her hourly was 24.21?
That's what the
For the
that's what the
director?
director position is. Yes, it's not the 20.
No, she makes,
Not the 2201.
she actually makes 21.18.
That's what the normal. That's the normal dispatchers make. The supervisor's position, and I don't think we've had it really filled since April, is at 24.21. And that's actually
Okay,
in the
because-
payroll information you gave me, Sue.
Because she, when she was moved to the director, it said no change in her rate of pay. This is probably other than, we can talk about this later because it probably doesn't have to do with what you're trying to, but the note that I got said that she wouldn't get any kind of change in pay. And currently she's at 2118, so. If we're talking about the same individual.
I don't think we are, to be honest.
Well, this is Brian again, Lupke.
Mhm.
She's correct. We are talking about, we needed somebody to keep up with the scheduling and everything. So Ashley Larson had took on a supervisory role with no increase in
Mhm.
pay.
Right.
We left the director position still vacant. We weren't using that part of the
Oh,
budget.
okay.
She was just taking
Okay.
other duties as supervisor until this was done.
Okay.
Y-
Yeah, we have her as
I-
911 comm director right now, so.
This is Clarence. Yeah, I'm in favor of this too, because I can see what the dilemma is. You know, somebody who's in a position where they can earn overtime right now is not going to take this director's position when they can't get overtime. So, you know, the department's in a dilemma because they're understaffed. So I can see where this is a problem.
I apologize for butting in on the the conversation, but I was just like, I would just want to make sure after the meeting's done that, you know, that I know exactly what you guys is out there right now. So
This is Bill. Dick, how do you feel about it if it should be brought to the full county board or not? Do you think we should make the decision here? Or if we should make the decision here and forward it to the county board, how do you feel about it?
Well, Dan, let's put it in your lap.
Okay.
I don't mind the executive committee making that decision. Like Marty said, we are the personnel committee. I don't want the rest of the county board to think we're pulling fast on it. So whatever you want to do, it's fine with me.
I think the way our county form of government is set up, that this committee is the committee that makes the final decision. I don't think, and I think it's perfectly rational, reasonable, and open and fair. I don't think it is transparent. I don't think there's any issues with pulling the wool over anybody's eyes, because that's how this county is set up. So I also feel that there's never, ever a harm in forwarding something to the county board. You know, I really, you can always I think there's always room to do that. I mean, so it's really whatever you want. I think both avenues are correct.
On that note, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Say that again.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion if you need a motion.
That's what I
Well, he's
just
making
did.
the motion.
Oh. I didn't hear it now.
There, you want to borrow my ears?
This one must have been turned off. I'll second it.
Hey, Dick? Dick?
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Hey, Dick?
Yes,
Can you hear me? This is Gary.
go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, you know, something that should be looked at is how someone takes a new job and there's no increase in pay for additional duties. I wouldn't want the employee to think that, well, I'm going to get more money by working overtime. I'm not objecting to the overtime, but maybe somebody should look at whether or not we're paying that person the correct wages, as Sue talked about. Because if somebody was working and making 2118 and all of a sudden got a whole bunch of new duties permanently, maybe we should look at whether or not that individual deserves an increase in pay. And the overtime is an additional thing. I have no objection to overtime, but maybe we're not paying that individual the correct wages to begin with, because if they stay at their current wage and then they need additional money, does someone use overtime as an excuse to earn more money? I'm not objecting to overtime, but I think maybe we need to look at whether or not we're paying the correct wages for that individual taking on additional duties. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Bill?
So the way it is now, your motion is that the committee decides it today and not go to the county board, correct?
Yeah,
So the committee is deciding it and it's not being forwarded to the county board. Just so we know what we're voting on.
And can I just clarify, the 911 director is at $24 or and something cents. So it's $2 more an hour or $3 more an hour than a normal dispatcher. So and we just don't happen to have that position not filled. So.
are we ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of allowing the 911 communications director eligible for overtime, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, Brian. Number 15, discussion action 2023 budget. We have nothing on that, do we?
Because it's discussion. It's going to be sort of like we did at Finance Committee. I guess most of you weren't there. I'm going to ask you, what are your priorities? What would you like to see the county go? I'm going to say that this budget is going to be exceedingly difficult. Inflation is going to affect us dramatically next year. So, I don't expect our revenues to increase very much. I know we have the carbon credit money coming. However, that's not guaranteed for next year. So it's my intention not to put that in as a revenue because we have no guarantee we're going to get it in 23. It may well come in early 24, the first payment. If we get it in 23, that's great. We stick it in the bank and save some money. So having said that, I think almost every department is looking at a cut of some sort, whether it's programming cuts or cutting people through attrition. As in when somebody quits, you just don't fill that position and you spread it out. I'm not really sure there's any other way to balance our budget than by cutting our spending. Our costs are going to be 10% higher next year. It's just that simple. So we need to be able to find that 10% to make our budget. Then we need to be able to find extra to give out wage increases. This is 8% inflation is making everybody go backwards dramatically. Literally 8%. Everybody's losing on their paychecks. The Finance Committee recommended budgeting within 6.2 and 8.4% wage increase. I believe it was 6 to 8. Don't quote me on the decimals. So that really means we need to find up to 20% extra revenue. So whether that comes from spending cuts or finding new revenue, it's going to be difficult, and there's going to be very difficult decisions. I think we are looking at staff shrinkage. That's really where our money is spent on people. So that means we're just not going to fill positions as they open. I would like to bring a table of organization, an actual official table of organization to this county board as part of the budget. So you know exactly what position is there. In order to fill a new position, it has to be created and it has to be approved by this committee and the county board as a whole. Or you can delete positions. If somebody's going to get promoted from, I'll just pick a generic title, assistant 1 to assistant 2. Well, that's fine. You create the assistant 2 position, but delete the assistant 1 position. so we can keep a level staffing. But we are looking at some sort of shrinkage. And then we have the twin issue of there is a public safety concern out there. You look in the southern part of the county, you look in parts of Ashland, there is a very real concern about public safety out there. So, Mick doesn't know this and Brian doesn't know this, but one of the things I want to do is try to figure out how do we get another sheriff's deputy to help address those concerns. Because honestly, people are concerned and they don't feel well. And the simplest way for us to do that is to help them out, is to provide more law enforcement. But that's going to come at a cost somewhere else in the county. So it's going to be exceedingly difficult. And I don't know if you have any suggestions to make it easier. The problem is most of our departments are cut to, there is bone already been cut. And, some of the offices, Bill, I'll pick your old office. They're already at 2 people. They're already cut back on everything they possibly can. I'm not sure how much more blood you can squeeze out of them. The same with other departments. They're already at 2 people, which is the legal minimum for some of these departments. There's not much more to squeeze. So, we had a part-time maintenance position in this building that we just haven't filled. We figured out a way around it. And I think other departments are going to have to do that too. Sir.
Brian?
I just had a quick question. Sue brought it to my attention when I walked in the hallway. Effective date for that director position to be filled, is that immediately?
That was my understanding that
Okay.
you could fill the job today.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Bill?
We gave notification to the town of LaPointe that we're going to cut the law enforcement.
Yes.
And is that going to be effective next year?
Yes.
Or are they going to do it immediately,
No, January 1st.
January 1st?
Yep, we
And-
made a commitment to pay this entire year out.
Okay, and so, but whether we pass that or not, it's still going to be a county board issue when we set the budget?
Yes, the county board is free to amend the budget to include that if they wish, or not include it if they wish, or any portion thereof. So what I mean by that, if the county, it won't be in the budget that I submit, but if you, Mr. Metzinger, just to pick on you, decide, well, no, we want to give them $50,000 still. Well, then you can certainly offer an amendment to do that. And you can do that here in executive, to be honest.
Okay, what is the amount? I don't quite remember if it was like
135,000.
135,000.
Yep.
And you're not going to put any money in the budget at all?
No. We gave 80,000 to the sheriff's department for increasing the wages in our correctional officers. Because we couldn't find any correctional officers. Nobody wanted the job. The other 55,000 I would like to put towards another sheriff's deputy.
Okay, the 80,000, was that next year's money? Or-
Yes, next year. We used ARPA this year.
Okay, we used ARPA this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I look at it, 80,000 would go to correctional officers, and then 55 I would like to put towards another deputy who would serve LaPointe to Butternut.
Okay. We also had a thing about having a vehicle every so many years.
Yep.
Was that in that 135,000?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, what became of that? Is that going to end or nothing?
I think the county board can make that decision separately. If we decide we want to do a vehicle for them, which, if we're going to be sending deputies over there, it does make sense to keep the vehicle there. That's something we can do on debt levy as opposed to regular levy. So I guess I'm not as opposed to that. I don't think they need one at this year.
It was like every how many years?
Every 5 years, I believe. But yeah, we could certainly give them another one at some point. A new squad car is around 30 to 35,000. I believe it's 35,000. The sheriff's department just purchased one.
This is Mike here. One of the things that we talked about last year, and I just mentioned this here at our last county board meeting, so that when we start looking at the 23 budget, that we're going to have ask the managers, program directors to come in front of us and sell us what their, what do you call it, bare bones budget is going to be on their operations.
Yes, and okay, department heads are, I've asked department heads to submit their capital budgets to Rachel and Taylor by July 1st. So that would be any IT equipment that they need. So if they need new computers beyond the ones that Rachel does replaces every 5 years, if they have new software, you know, like I'd love to see the tax software tied to GIS fixed because it takes 100 years to load. You know, and things like we're looking at a new website, doing codification of our ordinances. Those would all go into the IT capital budget. The same thing, highway would submit their capital budget for next year by July 1st. So what roads they want to build next year and how much they plan it to cost. Now, their regular operating budgets are due July 15th to me. In August, and I'll be bringing this up to Finance Committee, when they want to set up meetings with every department head to defend their budget, basically. Finance will have the opportunity through August and September to go over every department's budget and recommend changes if necessary before it comes back to this committee to look at, and then back to finance for final approval. Does that make sense?
We have a plan. Okay.
We have a plan. Everybody's going to have to come defend their budget in August and September to finance.
Mike again here. Excuse me, that it was discussed that we don't want everybody to come in at one particular meeting, but we can meet some at one point in time and others at another point in time.
Yeah.
We may have to have more than the regular amount of meetings.
Mhm.
However, to get through this and sort this all out, I obviously certainly don't want to try to micromanage the managers of their programs.
Mhm.
However, we would certainly like to, be fair to every program out there,
Mhm.
but yet balance the budget.
Yeah.
Way back when I first got on the county board and I was on finance, that's how we did it. We brought every department in and they presented their budget to the finance committee and we went over the whole thing and discussed with them where they could make changes and where they could make cuts and really got into it so that we could figure out where we could save money. And I think that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, and as far as the scheduling of those meetings, first of all, that'll be up to the finance committee to decide how many departments they want to do on any given day. The committee may decide, on Monday, they're just going to do one department because it's, say, HHS and it's complicated and they just want to give that its sole time. On Tuesday, they may decide they want to do the land description, clerk of court, or rather register of deeds and county clerk because their budgets are rather small. And so they may decide to take more of them at once. But the actual schedule of how many meetings they have and what departments come up will be decided by the finance committee itself. I think you guys are more than capable of deciding what you want to do. But yeah, but we're going to go back to defending budgets. Yeah. I'll also say that, I talked about earlier how the chart of accounts was not amenable to reports. That'll be changed, I'm hoping by the end of this month. So you will start able to get those reports that are useful sometime next month.
It's Mike again here. So like say for instance, the roads department, we have a projected budget going out like 30 years, I believe it is, or at least until 2030. And the question I have is, the other program managers and their budgets, do they have a forecast of where they want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? Or are they just going from year to year, hoping that the county board is going to approve their desired needs?
And this year, we're going year to year because we're making this change to go in front of Finance Committee. Next year, and I haven't told them this yet, but next year, they're going to be doing a 2-year budget. It also happens to coincide with the new biennium. So I think for our purposes, we can really only go out 2 years because we don't know what the state legislature is going to do after that 2 years. So I think I'd like to turn our budgeting towards what the state does. So we have predictability, at least for that one state budget cycle. Predicting what the legislature does beyond that is just something I can't do.
Thank you.
To put
Yeah.
it plainly.
So, this is all a matter of discussion on where we want to take our 23 budget. So we do have a plan, and we are going to be meeting with the managers, program managers. So with that, and of course, as you just alluded to, that going out 2 years is probably the best we can do at this time because of the state and their budgeting system. So if we can work within those parameters, I think we can't be expected to do much more than that. So we do have a plan.
I will say there is some possible good news. Nobody get their hopes up. But, I had my weekly meeting with the WCA, and there is a feeling that the legislature is going to have to do something with levy limits next year. That counties especially are getting hit too hard. And so while there's a commitment not to increase property taxes by the legislature, they are considering doing things like putting the tax goals separately off the property tax rolls as far as levy limits are concerned. And that could open up additional funding for counties. There's also talk of using that $4 billion surplus to help offset expenses from counties. So there is a realization in Madison that something has to be done. Of course, we don't know who's going to get elected in November, so we don't know what's going to end up actually happening. So none of that helps us for 23. 23 is still going to be full of hard decisions. Now, going down, looking forward, in 24, a couple TIF districts in the city end. So in 25, we'll be able to start getting tax revenue from those parcels again. But again, that's years out. It doesn't help us next year. So I think next year is going to be extremely challenging. I think the economy is in for a very rough ride in the next couple of years. We're looking at a 75 basis point rate increase tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me if they even go to 100 basis points. That's going to put a real break on everything.
So this is Mike here again. So then, excuse me again, that Mike and Steve, the consultants that we have working for us, they're saving us some money, but they're not saving us that much money towards going to help get us through the 23, 24, what do you call it, biennium. But it's going to help us.
It's going to help us, yes.
And they're not going to have these final recommendations done before we finish this 23 budget.
They'll be available if they have hours left over. We can extend the time period to get through November. But they're already looking at all this stuff now. My question is, really is, and this is for everybody to think, where do we get those spending cuts? Because that's where the hard decisions are going to be made. And that's where there's going to be the most pushback against you and you as individual supervisors from other departments. I guarantee you the pushback is going to be hard. It's tough. So.
Well, this is Mike again. And I was hoping that we could accelerate Mike and Steve's, what do you call it, work so that we can get some recommendations, so that we can inject some of those recommendations into the 23 budget.
Yeah, I am going to meet with them tomorrow. They are going to be here July 17th, I believe it is. I'm sorry, just looking at my calendar. They're going to be here July 18th and 19th. What I could do is maybe we could set up a finance committee meeting that one of those 2 days, probably the 19th. And we can talk to them about those recommendations and hopefully have something for you with it even in July yet.
Well, typically those would be findings, what they find, and their recommendations would be subject to what they found on the different programs that they've met with. And I believe at this point in time, they've met with all the departments.
Yeah, they have.
And right now, their main focus, correct me if I'm wrong, they're working with the sheriff's department and the roads department.
The main focus is there has been implementing the receipting system, which is something we need to do to control our money that comes in. So the way it works now is every time somebody gives you cash, check, whatever, you get a receipt in your hand and that's all entered into the system. So everything, they've been focusing on that. They've been focusing on getting a new AP system in where everything is scanned into the software. So you can literally, when you guys get your reports, you can literally go onto a budget line and click into it and see exactly where it's being spent. I have to admit, a lot of what they've been doing is getting overcoming obstacles, that the resistance to change that you see amongst staff. That's been a huge part of what they're doing and why it's been taking so long. Because there is that inertial institutional resistance to change. They've also been working over numbers to make sure that things are being reported right. Their next big task is going to be at HHS now. They've gotten the sheriff pretty well working pretty well. They've gotten treasurer's office working well, highways working well. So it's really going to be HHS is the big one now. And that's the more complicated of everything and the most time consuming.
This is Clarence. Over the last several years when we've been choked by these levy limits that we're under, one of the commitments we made was that we were not going to try to eliminate jobs if at all possible. We wanted to keep people employed. I think we've reached the tipping point now with inflation and everything else that's going on, where that's by far the majority, about 80%, I think, of our budget. And that's really the only place we can cut. We've got to be looking at those positions that can be combined, and things like that. That's where we have to look, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I want to stress, we're not talking about laying off people or firing people. We're talking attrition. When people leave a job voluntarily for a better opportunity or just spend time with their family or whatever it is, when they voluntarily leave, that's when we don't replace the job. I think we still make it a commitment to the people we have, and that we're committed that they stay employed if they wish to.
Do we have a building update, what's being done to the courthouse and then the one on 2nd Street down here?
Yeah, can we bring that up at number 18?
Under what?
Number 18?
18?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have no problem.
This is Mike again. I guess what the point I'm trying to circumvent is we have a budget. All these managers have a budget. And then when it comes down to the end of the year, suddenly it could be misconstrued that, gee, all of a sudden we're dumping money because we don't want to show the county board that we don't need this money. So all of a sudden we're dumping money buying this, buying frivolous things. And all during the course of the year, we're pinching pennies and stuff like this. And we've done this in my previous job as over at the Bureau of Indian Affairs too. all year long, we're pinching pennies, trying to make ends meet, and come down to the last month of the year, we have a surplus. Now, in an effort not to turn that money back, but to show the management staff that we really need a budget, we're dumping, meaning we're buying things that we've got along without. So, it's a matter of, I don't want to, like I indicated before, I don't want to micromanage the managers to have a real tight budget because, say, over HHS and stuff like that, there's so much variables. And like, if the judge was to make a determination, they're going to send somebody, that's something that we can't control in our budget, or HHS can't control that. So that's a very, that's an open-ended thing there.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with a moving target in those cases. And we have to try to address this best we can. And of course, have funds available to pay the bills.
Right. Yeah. And, that's luckily, I mean, there is for like those mental health care commitments, or if we have to send a child out of state, which is $3,000 a day or more, and, we do have ARPA money to back us up on that stuff, because that stuff is very, as you say, is variable. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with that. We could get a huge expense tomorrow out of nowhere. And there's really no way to budget for that stuff. So that's one of the reasons why, I want to not include that carbon credit money, because we do need to build a balance in our checking account to weather these kind of unexpected storms. Because they are going to happen. And if the economy keeps going the way it is, combined with COVID, we're probably going to have a lot more of that. So we have to be prudent at some point here.
I just want to add something here to the equation. I'm glad to see that we're not balancing the budget on the backs of the employees. I hate to bring this up again, but I had really bad experiences when I worked for Greyhound. We took 2 freezes and 2 pay cuts, and then they dissolved the company. So that didn't work. How do the department heads feel about downsizing without laying anybody off?
Well, I can tell you, I mean, some of you have seen the communications I've given them. It's been flat revenue, and you need to make adjustments elsewhere in your budget. I mean, that's pretty much code language. You got to shrink. It's politely saying it, but and they've gotten that message repeatedly. Now, whether it's sunk in, I don't know. Whether they believe it's actually going to happen, probably not. There's not one of them that's not going to argue that they need everybody they have, and they need all the money they have. And that's what you're going to get here at Finance Committee. You're going to get that. But the reality is, the money doesn't exist, and we have to balance a budget, and we have to keep cash flow moving. Now, and we have to be able to balance that by rewarding the employees who we keep, because all of them are working hard. All of them deserve to have a wage that keeps up with inflation. I mean, we can't expect them to literally take a 8 to 10% pay cut to stay working with us. We're not going to have employees at that point. So we do have to figure out a way to get them a good wage increase while balancing our budget. And again, that comes to shrinking the size of the government, really.
I will say one thing. I'm kind of familiar about the operation of Sawyer County. And I don't know if their problem is being understaffed or just people can't handle the job. I don't know what the problem is, but the difference in the productivity and the speed of which things get done between Ashland County and Sawyer County are like night and day. We do a hell of a lot better job here. And that's to the, I guess, the I guess we would say that we'd have to commend our employees for the job that they do. I know it's a difficult job, but the reason I brought this up is because my girlfriend lives in Sawyer County, and they've tried to get things done, and it's just impossible. They can't even tell you where to go half the time, except to a different county. So it's working out fine with what we have here. We have really good employees, and I think we are a bit overstaffed. If they can handle a downsize and we can deal with fewer employees in the future and still get the job done, I think we have to go that route. Thank you. Bill.
I just want to share what happened about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I was down in Butternut at the farm down there at my parents' place, and I was pounding some fruit steaks into some apple trees down there, and I had crawled underneath the fence, and I had my cell phone in my pocket, and all of a sudden the 911 went off. Okay, so I reached into my phone and stopped the beeping, and within 25 seconds or less, the sheriff's department called me and said, you have a 911 emergency? And I said, no, I just crawled underneath the fence. And I said, 911 off. Well, I went back to Ashland, and a little while later in the afternoon, the sheriff's department arrived and said, well, they had asked me a bunch of questions when I was on the phone, but I was amazed as far as pressing I've never pressed 911. So I was amazed at that, and I thought they did a really good job, and then follow through and then come and check to see if that was actually a 911 emergency or what happened, you know. And I told him, I said, I just crawled underneath the fence and I set this off. So, but I think they should be complimented and for that promptness, because you never know when there's really going to be an emergency. That's the first time I've ever.
Was that hard to do? Set it off by sitting on it?
No, I crawled. I crawled
know.
underneath. Yeah, I told them that. But normally I usually try to put my cell phone down so it doesn't go off anytime. But
I've had the experience, unfortunate experience of having to call 911 for an ambulance or the sheriff. And it seems like it takes forever for them to get there while you're waiting, but in reality, it's not very long at all. Yeah.
Any more discussion? Okay, ready to move on? Now we go to number 16, opioid settlement update.
Excuse me. This is an ever-changing one. So first payment is expected either next month or fall. It's still, we don't know. As of yesterday, that's what I was told. There has been talk about collateralizing our payout. And what that means is we get one lump sum of money and don't take the risk of one of the payers going bankrupt and not being able to make the payment. The numbers, I don't know what they keep changing. I did send the invitation to the meetings to finance committee so they could listen to the presentation. The PowerPoint of that presentation will be in the finance committee package if anybody wants to look at it. Basically, we get 65 cents on the dollar or so, which the way interest rates are going may actually be a good deal. Our present value today may be a lot more than next year, than 10 years from now. So that's something we have to consider. Now, if we do take the lump sum, we can only spend it on certain items. One of the things we can do is, like coming up to HHS tomorrow, is allowing certain individuals to administer Narcan we could spend the money on that, if for every 15 years, and that would qualify. That would certainly help out the opiate crisis, by save people's lives. So I just wanted to be aware the information's out there and it is changing. There is another meeting on this at the end of the month. But if anybody would like to Zoom invitation, I'll send it to you. I did send it out to Finance Committee, so they have it. But if anybody else would like it, or they want to come down here on one of the days and watch it, they're more than welcome to. So other than that, I won't have any more until next Finance Committee meeting, because that's when one of the meetings is.
Dan, what kind of figure are we talking about?
Well, our payout is roughly 680,000 minus. It looks like attorney's fees are going to come in at 20 or 25%. So figure we got 400 some thousand total. And so if we collateralize it, we end up with 300 and some that we could spend any way we wanted to, as long as it's on approved use. Now, I will say this is just the distributor's payment. There's still a lawsuit out there with the manufacturers that looks like it's headed to settlement. And there's still a lawsuit out there with the Walgreens and the CVSs of the world.
Bill?
Is Health and Human Services Committee, are they working on what the settlement's going to be, Clarence?
We don't work on what the settlement is.
No,
I mean,
no, but as far as what your options are to take a lump sum or to,
I think we'll be looking at that, yeah.
oh, but you have.
Well, I mean, it's not our decision whether we take a lump sum or not. It's the county's decision.
Oh, yeah, but you have a recommendation for the full county board or?
We haven't done anything.
Yeah,
we
but
haven't-
will you?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think I think the decision to collateralize or not is going to go to Finance Committee.
yeah, I mean, it isn't, I don't think it's our board's decision whether we collateralize it or not.
Right. The HHS board would recommend how to pay, what to pay for, what to use
Yeah,
money
yeah,
on,
we.
what
yeah.
programs to spend it on.
Yep.
But if the HHS committee wanted to take up collateralization and make a recommendation to finance, it'd certainly be within their powers to do that. And I'm sure finance would listen to exactly what they say.
Mhm.
I would hate to see us end up like the state did when they screwed up the cigarette.
Yeah,
settlement.
yeah.
Yeah, and if we do take the collateralization, we can always stick it in a separate passbook account and
Mhm.
spend. We're saying we're going to spend $15,000 this year, and we're going to make it last 20 years or whatever. And that way, you can still gather interest and.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you want to have happen if you collateralize it, because you don't want to spend all that money because then you don't have anything left, and you are going to be getting payments over the course of X number of years. When you collateralize it, you want to still, like you say, maybe now if interest rates are going to start to go up, or we're going to be able to earn a little bit of interest on that, that would be the time to do it.
Right. So the cost of collateralization actually goes down then if interest rates are going to stay up, because we can earn money back on it. And the cost of everything going forward costs a lot more. So, despite that's a good reason to do it. There's also the risk. I'm not worried about Johnson & Johnson going out of business, but some of these other distributors, like McKesson, I'd be worried about that.
They could all of a sudden just file bankruptcy and.
Be done with it, yeah. Or Congress could change how drugs are paid for, and just all sorts of things can happen between now and 20 years from now. That
Do we have an option, Dan, of then a payoff right now?
Yes, that's what the collateralization is. So there will be an option. There's still it's still being worked on because the numbers are changing so fast out there in the world. I expect to have something for the county board to look at in July or August.
Okay.
Or finance committee first, obviously, and then county board to make the final approval.
I think it'd be to our best interest to take the money and run. Well,
Yeah,
like
I
Connie
agree
said,
with you.
if 2 or 3 years down the road, one of them files bankruptcy, I don't know if there's protection with the court. If they have no money, they can't pay you.
That's exactly what's happened to a lot of defendants in recent years. They just file bankruptcy and get out of their debts.
Well, I think it'd be opportunistic for us to get our foot in the door first.
Well, the risk, of course, is that as interest rates go up, the smaller our payout is under that. Of the discount rate, if the discount rate goes up, the smaller our payout will be on the collateralization.
Right, but our cost, but our value, our present value of the dollar is going to be higher as inflation keeps going at the rates it is. So, I mean,
I guess I have a kind of, what's the right word?
crystal ball. Yeah. Yeah, I expect the interest rate hikes will eventually tame inflation. But, you know, the causes of our inflation are way beyond the control of the Fed. You know, they're way beyond the control of the president or the Congress. The war in Ukraine is causing oil prices to spike. COVID and shutting down in China has broken our supply chains. You know, the causes are much too great that, it's going to take a long time to put the global economy back together again, if it even goes back together again, you know. So too many things are broken.
If I could predict those things, I'd be watching you guys with my yacht open.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's what I got. I'll have more next meeting as I know more. If I know more by the county board meeting, I will bring it up at county board. If not, I will be bringing it up at finance. And I do, like I said, if anybody wants to attend these WCA meetings, let me know and I'll forward you the link.
Any more discussion? And we'll move on. Number 17, establishing a local court security and facilities committee.
All right, this is something that's required by the state Supreme Court. So it's something we have to do, but nonetheless, because it's establishing a committee, it still needs legislative approval to do so. Most of the committee members it's in the packet, are set forth by statute. So Judge McKnight is the chair. Mr. Pufall, you're a member of the committee. I'm a member of the committee. Our maintenance person is a member of the committee. So there's a whole bunch of things. But again, this is required by the state Supreme Court, and I'm just bringing it here so we can go through the whole process of actually establishing it instead of just doing it, I guess.
Marty.
This is Marty Vitek. If we have to do it, I would make a motion that we do it.
I'll second it. This is Clarence, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to establish a local court security and facilities committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Administrator updates.
Well, we've gone through a lot of them already. But Mr. Metzinger, you had some specific questions.
What is being done as far as the time frame, as far as the courthouse and you know, is there something that's going to be done right away, and what are we actually doing?
Right. Okay, so we did hire one engineer from Duluth last year to go look at everything. He has since quit the job. And so we don't have a structural engineer. I've contacted, Sarah and I both have contacted numerous companies. Nobody has the time, is willing to take on the job. I finally contacted SEH, who does a lot of our highway engineering. They do have structural engineers. They told me it would be about 10 weeks or more before they could do something. So we're looking at sometime in end of July, beginning of August, that time frame, when we could actually get somebody out here to look at stuff. So we would have them come out and look at the roof, look at the building here to give us a scope of work and an opinion on what needs to be done. That scope of work then can be then given to put out to bid for contractors. As far as 514 goes, it's no secret that I have very deep misgivings about the structural integrity of that building. I think everybody knows that. If you want to see it yourself, please feel free to go down and get the tour. We have to, the engineers know that when they come, they have to look at that building too. In the meantime, I've asked Terry Barningham to make a contingency plan to move CCS to Sanborn building if need be. It's not gonna be pretty, obviously, but if we can't have people safely working there, then we can't have them safely working there. So that will probably mean that in that event, that HHS, anybody that can go remotely working will, just to create space for the new people. Luckily, most of CCS can be remote work. They're really outside dealing with people more than sitting in an office. So it's quite possible they could share 1 or 2 offices and get the work done. Now, as far as safety is concerned, I know that that HHS can make it work. And I know they will do everything they possibly can. But we're kind of stuck now until we get an engineer to actually come here and do it.
Is it just possible that we could put the 514 building up for sale?
I would love,
And sell it as it is?
it is, and I would love nothing more than to sell it. I don't care if we sell it for $1.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, things seem like they're really selling now. And if we know we want to dump it, try dumping it now and then not have to worry about getting the engineer to look at it. Let's just get rid of it.
I'm very much okay with that. It would get rid of a giant headache.
Right.
And-
And if we got room for the employees someplace, then why don't we do something?
Okay, well, I'll talk to Terry about that and see if she can't make it happen sooner rather than later. And if she can, then yeah, I'll bring it up next executive meeting to put it up for sale.
But if we can absorb them employees somewhere else, why did we buy this to begin with?
Well, they said we didn't have any room.
Well, I would say it was
it-
before remote work.
That was before COVID.
Yeah,
And so the Health and Human Services building was full, and that's where that operation was housed anyway, when we took it over from New Horizons. So we just incorporated it, we bought the building and
yeah. But yeah, that was before remote work.
Right.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
now we have remote work and we can make space. It won't be, I admit, it won't be comfortable for some people. It's not an ideal solution. And I do think down the road, we're gonna have to look at something. But
the other advantage to the downtown building is that that's where the clients are. I mean, the clients are more centrally located and easier for them to get to that building than it would be to get to Sanborn Avenue.
yeah, so,
Except for the
yeah, so
parking.
HHS would have to,
right.
HHS would have to do some serious thinking about how they want to structure that.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess the thing is, I just wanted to see how much it's actually being used now, versus when we first got it. If it's only being 25% used, we got heat, electricity, water, the whole smear. So, I guess, I can't see throwing a lot of money into it, and if it's not gonna be, we'd be better off getting rid of it. That's what I feel. It's, I've been in the building. So, but I don't think the third floor, there's a third floor, isn't there? I don't think that's even being used.
No, the third floor is basically not being used.
Yeah.
It's mostly storage.
Yeah.
But yeah, the building has problems and, that's public knowledge. So,
but my question is, if we didn't have the space for these employees before, what makes us think we're gonna have it now if we sell the building?
A lot of people are working from home.
yeah, there's a lot more remote
Permanently?
work. Yeah, there's a lot more remote work going on. So we have a remote work policy that allows people to work from home if they can. So there is more people working from home. And again, CCS employees spend more of their time out in the field than they do in the office. So, I mean, we can make it work. It's just that it might be uncomfortable on certain days. That's all.
So then my question is, like Clarence said, it's more convenient for the customers. Where would they go to Beezer Avenue or?
Well, a lot of times, I mean, a lot of these employees are like job coaches for some of these clients. And so they pick them up and take them to their jobs and those kinds of things and do things in the community with them. So like Dan says, they're not working in that building. You know, it was just, that was the convenient location for them to meet their clients, you know. But I'm thinking it can be done out there. It's just gonna have to coordinate a little bit better.
Well, this is Mike here, in listening to this topic of discussion here. Perhaps we should sit down with the management staff and bring them up to speed on what our thought process is on trying to get rid of that building.
I will contact HHS today and Clarence will see them tomorrow because there's a HHS meeting, so.
Well, my thought here, Mike, again, my thought here is that perhaps there's something that we may be overlooking. And if we prematurely get rid of that building, we can be causing a problem more greater than the problem that we currently have.
Right.
I think that came out right when I said
Yeah,
that.
it did, yeah.
And getting rid of the building is, it's a realty type kind of thing, you buy and sell all the time.
Right.
And if we had to buy another building someplace, obviously we want to buy a building that's going to facilitate our needs as opposed to have to fix it up and put a lot of money into it.
Right.
And that's a situation we're in right now. That building is needs a lot of help.
Yeah, it does. And ideally, what we would do is we'd buy a brand new building, obviously used building, but not brand new, that is not in need of repairs, minimal repairs, and we would house the entire HHS department in it and just get rid of the Sanborn building too. And if space was available, we could move land conservation there and get rid of that rent also. So ideally, that's what we do, but I'll be honest, there's no such building like that available right now. So, and we don't, the cost of construction is just insane. I mean, the cost, just to build a home, which is cheaper than a commercial building. But as an example, a 2,000 square foot home now costs you $500,000 to build. So the cost of construction is prohibitive. So we'd have to find a building that's available. If one became available, that'll be an agenda item. I can guarantee that. But for the time being, we have to make do with what we have. And yeah, getting rid of that building is probably our best thing ever we could do.
Does that mean that you're going to have the structural engineers look at that building as well?
Yes, I'll have the engineer look at that building as well. Yeah.
Well, I guess I can't see making a lot of additional costs. We know it's in bad shape. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out, but I'm just saying, I don't know how much it would cost. I had a couple other questions. I don't know if this is the time to bring them up.
Sure, it is.
How is the zoning office being handled? How is that running now? Is that
Sure. We hired a contractor
right
to do the job, Bruce Blakeman. It's actually, in my opinion, it's running really well. I've heard nothing but compliments from all the contractors out there, and residents seem to be very happy. They're getting the services they need at a reasonable time frame and place. I think it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know if it was at the last county board meeting or previously, it was brought up that there's a national county board member that says she's on the committee, on the Fair Board, and she wanted to get some type of compensation or something. Has that been addressed by any committee?
No, it hasn't.
Is that-
It was pretty readily apparent to me at the county board meeting that the county board did not approve of that. So it's not on any committee agenda.
Okay, well, I just wondered if it was brought up, or if there is a request, I think it's better to bring it up to some committee and then have it turned down, and.
We could put it
then
on the next agenda if you like.
Would it be the finance or the executive that would handle it?
I think it's a human resources issue more than anything. So,
Well,
I mean, county board members are employees of the county. So if we're going to give an added benefit to another employee of the county, that's a human resource issue. So we'll come to this committee.
If we go that route, I don't have a problem with the county paying for somebody to be on the Fair Board, so that they get the representation that they should have. Problem being, and I talked to Kathy about this, we're gonna have to limit meetings, because sometimes they have a meeting every week. We can't afford to pay 40 meetings a year.
The other thing I would say about that is that the Fair Board itself is a volunteer organization, and nobody else gets paid for being on that board. And as I remember back, I don't know that we actually authorized payment for attending those meetings. We wanted to have a representative from the county board on that board just to keep us informed about what was going on. But I don't think that we authorized a per diem for attending those meetings.
I guess my concern is doesn't keep being brought up. I think we should make a decision right away and say, if it's a volunteer organization, then that's what it should be. And we shouldn't keep bringing it up, and, somebody has a tendency to do that, so.
Well, does this committee want me to put it on the next agenda or not?
I was going to say, we have a list of committees, and I don't think the county fair is on that list.
No, it's not. No. So again, the question is, do you want me to bring it up at the next meeting or not? If you say no, then it's
Chairman.
not coming up.
Yeah, Chairman Poofall?
Yes.
This Supervisor Murdoch, but my concern with adding more committees is what you suggested too, is we're trying to hold back on having too many meetings. The other concern I have is if we make the Ashland Fair, which is not a county fair, not Ashland County's fair, it's Ashland Fair. We have a fair in Glidden, we have one in Butternut, and I'm going to object violently, and I mean it. If we start paying people to go onto those committees, then I'm going to demand that we pay the Glidden Fair, the Butternut Fair, and anything else that's going on. That's a volunteer organization. Let it stay voluntarily, because we have enough problems with money right now than to start paying people to go to more meetings. Thank you.
What? Yeah, no, I just, I'm not in favor of it or against it or opposed, but I just think if there's a concern, I think we should handle it so it doesn't keep being brought up, and just put it on record that what we're in favor of or what we're not in favor of, no matter what the outcome is. I have no preference.
So do you want me to put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Sure. Then we can.
What do you think, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. Do you have any other questions?
No, those were the two questions I had that I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, and just as I believe I told the whole county board, but just a reminder, I'll be out of town July 6th to 13th. Actually, probably 14th, because I don't think I'll make my connecting flight, which means I have to spend a night in Miami. It's just terrible, but. But other than that, any other questions?
Going on, and no more questions?
Yep. So next
Okay.
meeting date.
Next meeting date.
So having said that, I'll be there. Do you want to have finance first or executive first? Finance is already meeting on the 28th of this month. So we could meet. I was thinking we'd have finance on the 18th while our consultants are here.
June,
July
July 18th.
I thinking would be a finance because our consultants are here. But we could also do it as an executive and have you guys talk to our consultants. So that's up to you. Or God forbid, we could do a joint meeting. And with the ground rules, the chair of PUFAL is the chair, period. And you're just asking, you're getting a presentation from the consultants. So I don't know, what would you guys like to do? Or would you like to get back to me? So we'll look at the week of July 18th or later.
When do we have this is Bill, when do we have a county board meeting planned?
We don't have one planned for July yet.
Okay, do we need one in July? Do we need anything that needs to be done?
I don't think the county board needs to meet in July. I don't see any pressing issue that is going to, this next board meeting is going to have a whole bunch of stuff on it. So I'm not sure I see a pressing issue for a July meeting.
My dad's card is wide open.
So it's up to you guys.
When is the next full board meeting?
The next full board meeting is next week.
Tuesday. Why don't we meet towards the end of July and then that'll be for August,
Okay, so July 26th.
July 26th?
Okay,
What day is that?
Tuesday. And then we'll have finance due July 19th then. Which would be good because that'll be right after I've gotten all the budgets back from everybody. I can have a better idea of how crazy it's going to be.
Is there anything that we should, if we have something that needs to be brought up, is there something that people want brought up right now for the executive committee? Other than,
The fair.
There was a talk about a list of new people when they hire.
Yep, and that's going to be, I'm going to do that at the county board during my update.
people that left and came?
Right. Yeah, as soon as you made the request, I started keeping track from that date.
Okay.
So,
Okay. We have the meeting date set next. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Bill to adjourn, seconded by Marty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, want to stay longer?